The vast emptiness of space had always made humans feel small, but on that fateful day in 2157, we proved just how wrong that assumption was. I remember standing on the bridge of the UES Defiant, watching as the massive Galactic Empire fleet dropped out of hyperspace, their crystalline ships reflecting starlight like diamonds scattered across the void. Our long-range sensors lit up like a Christmas tree, counting over 300 vessels of various sizes. Any other species might have trembled at such a sight, but we weren't just any species. Captain Sarah Chen's voice cut through the tense silence, steady as ever. Open a channel to their flagship. Her dark eyes remained fixed on the holographic display, where the enemy vessels continued to advance in perfect formation. The Empire had conquered 17 civilizations before encountering humanity. Each conquest had been swift, brutal, and absolute. Their technology was centuries ahead of ours, their numbers vastly superior. But they had never faced humans before. What the Empire didn't know, couldn't know, was that humanity had spent its entire existence preparing for this moment. Not consciously, perhaps, but every war we'd fought, every hardship we'd endured, every time we'd picked ourselves up from the ashes of near destruction, it had all led to this. We were the descendants of survivors, of fighters, of those too stubborn to lay down and die. The massive view screen flickered to life, revealing the alien commander. They appeared almost crystalline themselves, with translucent skin that pulsed with internal light and multifaceted eyes that reminded me of polished amethysts. Their voice, when it came through the translator, was melodic but cold. Your species will submit to imperial rule. Resistance is. Let me stop you right there, Captain Chen interrupted, a small smile playing at the corners of her mouth. We've reviewed your history. 17 species, 17 victories. Impressive, but you've never encountered humans before, and there's something you should know about us. She leaned forward in her command chair, her voice dropping to almost a whisper. We don't submit. Ever. The alien commander's skin flashed with patterns of light that our xenobiologists would later identify as confusion. Before they could respond, Chen continued. This is your only warning. Turn your fleet around and run. Because if you don't, you're about to learn why no species in the known galaxy has ever successfully conquered Earth. The silence that followed was deafening. I watched as the alien commander's crystalline features shifted, probably trying to process this unexpected response. Their kind had never received such a warning before. They had never needed to. Their technological superiority had always been enough. But they didn't know about the classified defense systems we had orbiting every human colony. They didn't know about Project Phoenix or the quantum disruption fields we reverse-engineered from the wreckage of that scout ship they'd lost near Alpha Centauri. Most importantly, they didn't know that humans fight the hardest when backed into a corner. The alien commander's response was predictable. You dare to threaten the Empire. Their skin pulsed with angry red patterns. Your primitive species will learn. Captain Chen cut the transmission. She turned to me, her tactical officer, and spoke the words that would go down in human history. Show them what happens when they ignore a friendly warning. I keyed in the activation sequence, my fingers dancing across the holographic interface with practiced precision. Around me, the bridge crew moved with the fluid efficiency that came from countless drills. We had trained for this moment, even if we'd hoped it would never come. All colonies have acknowledged the Phoenix Protocol. Lieutenant River reported from the communications station, her voice steady despite the weight of what was coming. Quantum shields are powered and synchronized. The Empire's fleet had shifted into an attack formation, their crystalline ships arranging themselves into what our tactical computers recognized as their standard conquest configuration. It was beautiful, in a terrifying sort of way, like watching a spider weave its web. Captain Chen nodded, her expression grim. Begin transmission of the Phoenix signal. She turned to address the bridge crew. Remember your training. Remember Earth. Remember what we are fighting for. The Phoenix signal was humanity's best-kept secret, a quantum frequency that disrupted the crystalline technology the Empire relied on. We had discovered it by accident while studying their crashed scout ship, and we'd spent the last 5 years building our entire defense strategy around it. The effect was instantaneous. the nearest Imperial ships began to flicker, their crystal hulls losing their luster as our signal interfered with their power systems. But the Empire hadn't conquered 17 civilizations by being unprepared. Their flagship, a massive vessel that dwarfed our largest carriers, began emitting a counter-frequency. They're adapting faster than we anticipated, I reported, watching as my tactical display showed their ships beginning to stabilize. The simulations didn't predict this level of responsiveness. Captain Chen's expression didn't waver. Then it's time for Phase 2. Deploy the Shadowcraft. Across human space, thousands of stealth vessels emerged from their hidden positions. They were small, practically invisible to standard sensors, and carried a payload that would change the course of this war. We called them Shadowcraft, ships designed not to fight, but to survive and observe. Each one contained a quantum beacon that, when activated, would create a localized disruption field. The Empire's ships began to turn, their formation breaking apart as they tried to target the suddenly appearing vessels. But that's what we wanted, to break their perfect formation, to create chaos in their ordered ranks. "Ma'am," Lieutenant Rivera called out, her voice tight with excitement. "We're receiving transmissions from the colonies. The quantum beacons are working. Their shields are failing." But before we could celebrate this small victory, the Empire revealed their own surprise. Their flagship began to pulse with a deep violet light that our sensors couldn't properly analyze. Whatever they were planning, it wasn't in any of our intelligence reports. Captain Chen leaned forward, her hands gripping the arms of her command chair. "All ships, prepare for emergency maneuvers. Something tells me we're about to find out why they call themselves an empire." The violet pulse from the Empire's flagship expanded outward like a cosmic heartbeat, and our sensors screamed warnings I'd never seen before. Energy readings were off the charts, defying our understanding of physics itself. Through the view screen, I watched as the crystalline ships began to merge, their structures flowing together like liquid glass. "All stations report." Captain Chen's voice cut through the chaos on the bridge. "What are we dealing with here?" The Empire was transforming their fleet before our eyes, hundreds of ships combining into a single massive entity that blocked out the starfield behind it. Our tactical computers struggled to make sense of what we were seeing. It was like watching evolution happen in fast forward, but with advanced alien technology instead of organic matter. "The quantum disruption field is having minimal effect on their combined form," I reported, my fingers flying over the controls. "They're using some kind of crystalline resonance to stabilize their structure. Our Shadowcraft, they're being pulled in by some kind of gravitational distortion." The massive crystalline entity now facing us pulsed with internal light, patterns rippling across its surface like neural networks. When the alien commander's voice came through our comms again, it echoed with the power of hundreds of merged minds. "You were warned about defiance. Now witness true Imperial power." That's when our long-range sensors detected something that made my blood run cold. The entity was generating spatial distortions, tears in the fabric of space-time itself. They weren't just planning to defeat us. They were going to unmake us, erase us from existence. Captain Chen stood from her chair, her face illuminated by the violet light flooding through the view screen. "Send the coded burst to Earth. Authorization, Chen Alpha 79. She turned to face the crew, her expression fierce and determined. "What we do in the next few minutes will determine the fate of our species. Humanity has survived ice ages, plagues, and our own near extinction. We didn't come this far to be erased by crystal space gods." The ship's AI confirmed receipt of her authorization code, and somewhere in the vast network of human defenses, something ancient stirred to life, something we had hoped we'd never need to use. The Empire had revealed their true power, but they weren't the only ones holding back. The crystalline entity loomed closer, its surface now crackling with energy that our shields could barely deflect. Our Shadowcraft continued to be absorbed, their crews fighting to the last moment to maintain position. But as I watched the tactical display, I noticed something the Empire hadn't, a pattern in the chaos, a method to our apparent madness. "Captain," I said, my voice barely a whisper, "the Shadowcraft, they're in position." She nodded, her eyes reflecting the violet light of what could be humanity's last stand. Then let's show them why you should always take a human's warning seriously. The massive crystalline entity pulsed with energy, ready to unleash its reality warping power. That's when our scattered shadowcraft revealed their true purpose. Each one contained a piece of ancient human technology. Fragments of a device we discovered buried beneath the Martian ice caps decades ago. Initiate quantum resonance cascade, Captain Chen commanded. All ships, synchronize your temporal fields. The absorbed shadowcraft, now embedded throughout the Empire's combined form like seeds in crystalline soil, activated simultaneously. Their quantum beacons didn't just disrupt, they began to rewrite the underlying fabric of spacetime, using the Empire's own reality warping energy against them. But the Empire had one more surprise. The crystalline entity began to split, not into its original ships, but into multiple versions of itself, each one existing in a different quantum state. They were attempting to exist in all possible outcomes simultaneously, trying to find one where they emerge victorious. They're creating quantum duplicates, Lieutenant Rivera shouted over the blaring alarms. Our sensors are detecting temporal anomalies across all sectors. Captain Chen's expression hardened as she watched the multiple versions of the Empire's force ripple across space like a shattered mirror. They think they can outmaneuver us by existing in multiple realities. A grim smile crossed her face. Show them what happens when they underestimate human ingenuity. Execute Protocol Omega. The Martian device fragments began to pulse with an ancient power that predated humanity itself. As they activated, reality itself seemed to hold its breath. We had just triggered something that even our best scientists didn't fully understand, but desperate times called for desperate measures. All hands, Captain Chen's voice rang through the ship. Brace for temporal displacement. The ancient Martian device fragments pulsed in perfect synchronization, their power amplified by the Empire's own quantum duplicates. Space itself began to fold, creating a temporal nexus that pulled all versions of the crystalline entity toward a single point in space-time. The quantum signatures are collapsing into a unified state, I reported, watching as my tactical display showed the impossible becoming reality. They can't maintain multiple existences when we're forcing convergence. The Empire's merged consciousness screamed across all frequencies as their quantum duplicates crashed together, their reality warping power turning inward. The violet energy that had seemed so threatening now sparked and fractured, unable to maintain coherence against technology far older than their civilization. Captain Chen stood at the center of her bridge, unwavering as reality stabilized around us. Send the final warning message, she ordered, her voice carrying the weight of humanity's first interstellar victory. The message was simple: footage from Earth's historical archives, images of humanity rising from countless defeats, rebuilding from disasters, surviving against impossible odds. The final clip showed the discovery of the Martian ruins, proof that we weren't just fighting for our present, but protecting the legacy of those who came before. The crystalline entity, now forced into a single quantum state, began to separate back into individual ships. Their once perfect formation was shattered, their confidence broken. But as they retreated, their commander sent one final transmission. You are the children of Mars. The prophecy was true. Captain Chen's eyes widened as the implications hit her. The Empire hadn't been testing us. They had been searching for us. And now they had found exactly what they feared most. The inheritors of humanity's greatest mystery, and perhaps their greatest threat. All ships, stand down but maintain battle stations, Chen ordered, watching as the Empire's fleet disappeared into hyperspace. Something tells me this isn't over. We've just become part of a much bigger story. Behind us, the Martian device fragments pulsed one final time, revealing coordinates to something hidden in the depths of space, coordinates that would change our understanding of humanity's place in the galaxy forever. As the Empire's fleet vanished into hyperspace, the bridge of the UES Defiant fell silent. The coordinates revealed by the Martian artifacts hung in the holographic display like a cosmic riddle waiting to be solved. Captain Chen studied them intently, her expression thoughtful. Set course for Earth, she ordered finally. The Security Council needs to know what we've discovered, and what we've become part of. The coordinates pointed to a region of space we'd never explored, far beyond the edges of known territory. According to the ancient data, something waited there, something that could explain why the Empire called us the children of Mars. The journey back was quieter than usual. Every crew member felt the weight of what had transpired. We hadn't just won a battle. We'd stumbled into an ancient prophecy. The Empire's reaction to discovering our connection to Mars suggested they knew something about our origins that we didn't. Research teams were already analyzing the data from the battle. The way our Martian technology had interacted with the Empire's quantum manipulation was unprecedented. It was as if the two technologies recognized each other, like long-lost siblings finally reuniting. "You know what this means, don't you?" Lieutenant Rivera asked as we approached Earth orbit. Every archaeological expedition to Mars over the past century, we weren't just studying another civilization's ruins. We were finding pieces of our own history. Captain Chen nodded, her gaze fixed on the blue marble of our homeworld. And now we have coordinates to what might be the next chapter of that history. The Empire won't be the last advanced civilization we encounter out there. But they've shown us something important. Humanity isn't just ready for the galaxy. The galaxy might not be ready for us. As we docked at Earth Station 1, news of our victory was already spreading throughout human space. But Captain Chen's final log entry captured what everyone was thinking. Today we learned that humanity's story is far older and far stranger than we ever imagined. The Empire came expecting to find primitives worthy only of conquest. Instead, they found the descendants of something that even they feared. The coordinates we discovered aren't just a destination. They're an invitation to understand who we really are. And whatever we find at the end of that journey, one thing is certain. Humanity will face it the same way we faced every challenge in our history, together, unafraid, and ready for whatever comes next. The Empire had warned us to run. Instead, we showed them why they should have taken their own advice, and somewhere out there, in the direction of those mysterious coordinates, the next chapter of humanity's story was waiting to begin.